Welcome to our video lecture. In this video, we will discuss how to perform manual text-based audits using Burp Suite Repeater. When performing a web application pen testing, there will often be times that manual testing is required to exploit a given vulnerability. Capturing every response in the proxy, manipulating it, and then forwarding it can become very time-consuming. Burp Suite's repeater feature simplifies this by allowing consistent manipulation and submission of single requests without having to regenerate the traffic in the browser each time. Burp Suite Repeater simply works by providing a text-based interface to the web. The repeater can allow a user to interact with remote web services by directly manipulating requests rather than interacting with a web browser. This can be useful when testing cases for which the actual HTML output is more critical than the way it is rendered in the browser. Let's open up browser, click on XSS Reflected. Now turn on My Intercept proxy on. Search ABC any random string. To use Burp Suite Repeater, a request needs to be sent to it from either an Android capture via an intercept or from the proxy history. The easiest way to start working with Repeater is to select the request you want to work on within another Burp tool. Right-click on the request and use the Send to Repeater option to the context menu. By shortcut key Ctrl+R, it also send to Repeater tool. This will create a new request tab in the repeater and automatically populate the target details and request message editor with the relevant details. You can modify and issue the request as required. Here you can see that Repeater UI lets you work on multiple different requests simultaneously, each in its own tab. When you send requests to Repeater, each one is opened in its own numbered tab. Using Request HTTP Message Editor, you can edit the request and reissue it over and over. An HTTP message editor showing the response that was received from the last issued request. When your request is ready to send, click the Go button to send it to the server. The response is displayed when this is received, together with the response length and a timer in milliseconds. You can use the usual HTTP message editor function to help analyze the request and response messages and carry out further actions. A request is made for the user to provide a name and the server returns the provided input in the HTML response. To test for the possibility of cross-site scripting, we should first inject a series of commonly used characters in such an attack. After sending in the series of characters, we can see that all of the characters were returned in the HTML content and none were escaped. This is very strong indication that function is vulnerable to cross-site scripting. We can enter the standard token request for script alert high enclosing script tag. Now let's see the returning HTML content. We can see that the opening script closing tags have been included in the response. This can be confirmed by issuing the request in a browser. Now let's evaluate the response in the client browser by right-clicking on the request and then select Request in Browser. This will generate a URL that can be used to reissue the request in a browser that is actively connected to Burp proxy. We can copy the URL provided manually or by clicking on the copy button. This URL can be pasted into the browser and the request will be issued in the browser. Assuming the cross-site scripting attack was successful, the client-side JavaScript code will be rendered in the browser. But we are not getting the alert message because I'm using Chrome. It has default protection against reflective XSS attacks. Okay, that's all about Burp Repeater tool. Thank you and see you in next lecture.